Hello, 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 hello. So, we are going to be doing another live today. My name is Curtis Lewis, and we are doing a live with Doubledice. Specifically, we're doing a live with Philip from Doubledice. Hello. We're going to be talking a little bit about winning pitches. We're going to be talking a little bit about the shiny list. We're going to be talking a little bit about what Doubledice do as well. Yes, so we're going to be getting into the questions about working with a production company that specifically works with branding. So feel free to ask your questions. As I said the last time, if you missed last time, you can always find the lives at the end on the Shiny platform on the Instagram. So welcome, welcome, welcome everyone. Just to reiterate, we are going to be talking a little bit about winning pitches, but we're also specifically talking about the list of directors that Shiny has to offer, but also we're talking to Philip from Doubledice. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask at any point of the live because it's super, super important that we make sure that you guys are getting the questions in the information that you guys need specifically. Just to give a little bit of background information, Doubledice have worked with many, many, many big brands. So Vogue, BP, Google, American Express, Nissan, Bentley, Malibu, Dove, Kellogg's. I'm reading it off a list. And recently with Virgin Trains, which we're going to be talking a little bit about. But I'm not going to speak too much. I'm going to invite Philip on and we can essentially have a chat. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. It's good to meet you.
Hi, and you. Thanks so much. Sorry, this is the first time I've actually been on Instagram
Uh,
Live. Sorry.
okay. Well, welcome to Instagram
I was
Live.
like waving, like, let me in. I'm also joined with by Harry, who's our exec producer and one of the founders of Double Dice as well. So we're actually going to field some of these questions together, if that's all right.
No, that's perfect. That's actually perfect. That's like
Great,
amazing.
great to
Cool.
meet
So we're
you,
gonna.
Curtis. I thought I'd muscle in.
No, that's
Hope that's
perfect.
okay.
No, lovely to meet you as well. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna dive straight in. What I like to sort of like ask first is like how you describe the work that you guys do, and yeah, so how do you describe the work that you guys do and the type of work you guys do? And I'll give you the floor.
So, I mean, I might get a slap around the back of the head here, but generally, what we do is commercial work. So we work for brands and we produce commercial content. I'd say would be the best way of describing it.
Exactly. We're a boutique production company servicing predominantly the advertising industry, be it through ad agencies or creative agencies. But also, we're fortunate enough to do quite a bit of direct to brand work, which comes with its own challenges, but is very exciting to be sort of really in the in the heart of these companies, growing companies, whilst they build their brand and speak to audiences. And we do that through a variety of different types of short form content. More traditional advertising, branded content, animation, motion graphics. And
Okay.
we're kind of a one stop shop when it comes to the sort of short form content.
Sure. Yeah, a bit medium. Yeah.
So there's kind of like a variety of fields that you guys work with. What I wanted to specifically sort of like ask is how is it you sort of like use Shiny or how is it you guys find directors? Because there's a lot of directors out there that are like wants to get into to that we have like watching that are wants to get into sort of like commercial work and the things that you guys do. How is it you guys find directors first of all?
That's a great question. And it varies. But the process is often that we'll work with our partners to develop their brief, and at that point we'll go and start looking for talent, for directors to come on board. We'll do that through essentially a big search. And Shiny has proved very useful in that regard because the way that you list and host emerging talent is an invaluable resource. And of course, we're looking at reels, we're looking at portfolios to see, and it's not so much, at that stage, it's more about the creative understanding as opposed to technical.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
obviously well lit and clever high tech kit is always a bonus, but that's not what it's creative skills. So we're looking to see that directors in their portfolios can demonstrate, an understanding of visual storytelling, of a strong visual style, as well as, obviously, it's important that they can demonstrate understanding when it comes to the importance of brand identity and key messaging. But I would say, with when directors are updating their portfolios, and maybe the portfolios are sort of in their infancy, it's, BAFTA winning lighting is not the thing that is going to sell it to us. It's more about demonstrating those creative skills that are required for standout commercial and advertising content. So yeah, keeping your portfolio and your socials up to date is really important. So essentially, you're easy to find, and we can see in a snapshot what you're all about, really.
Yeah, so I think also to add to that, like when we get a brief in, generally they're competitive. And the one thing that we as a production company then start doing is looking for examples of work of how we see this project potentially turning out. And often these examples are going to be on directors' websites or their Vimeo accounts or their Instagram accounts. And we sort of take that and we put it in front of the client. And if they like it, then we're probably going to get in touch and say, hey, we've done this. That's certainly one way.
100%, yeah.
Another way, honestly, we send us emails, like we read them and we do everything that we get through. If we like it, it goes into effectively a little mini roster, which is
Yeah, a
a
little
Okay,
database
so
that we keep
so could
running.
this be like, say for example, they could email you and be like, hey, I want to work with you guys. I love the stuff that you do.
yeah.
It's as simple as that.
It
Okay.
literally is. Have a look at our work and then trust.
Yeah.
If obviously we're really busy all the time, but we really like just having a flick through someone's portfolio, seeing what they've done, what they've worked on, and then thinking like, okay, cool, like this would be good for this client. We can pitch this in this way.
Mm.
So
That kind of
yeah,
thing.
get in touch with a reel, with a portfolio. We're always excited to interact with emerging talent, and stop by the studio for a cup of tea and a catch up, and we can talk about the possibilities of working together.
Amazing. I also want to sort of like just touch on your relationship with Shiny, because I think you guys are a sort of like a partnership with Shiny
Yeah.
in the way that you try and find directors through them. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, as we sort of alluded to beforehand, a brief will come in, and we'll want to start thinking about directors. And we've used Shiny in the past as an incredible resource. We had a brief that was looking for, the budget was on the lower end, but it wasn't nothing. But it was a great piece of creative that looked like it wanted a young, energetic, fresh voice. So we reached out to Caroline and the team over at Shiny, with some pretty specific criteria, to ask if they could sort of recommend some options of potential directing talent for a project. And
I mean, they did.
which the guys over there did, and we put a number of names forward from Shiny to the agency and the client, and universally they were loved. And as often the case, it was a competitive pitch, and we asked the shortlist of Shiny directors to put together a one-page pitch
Oh, nice.
treatment.
Okay.
So, and I say one page, 1 or 2 pages. So not a full-blown treatment, but really sort of demonstrating how they would approach the creative. And those were then submitted for consideration by the client, and one of the applicants was successful, and then we moved forward that to a full-blown treatment. we can share a link to the finished work. And the project was incredibly successful.
It's a record breaker for the agency that we did it
Yeah.
with,
Who was
actually,
who was
in terms of
with
its
the who was
engagement.
the
The
brand that you worked with for this
brand
project?
was Virgin Trains Ticketing, which is an app for
It's buying train tickets,
buying
basically.
train tickets, and they had this really fun creative which involved a customer strutting their way through King's Cross Station wearing some really skimpy red shiny underpants,
Yeah,
essentially
like boxes,
boxes, yeah.
but like kind of latexy.
So it's really, really out there, and we shot in King's Cross during rush hour
Oh wow.
with multiple cameras and hidden cameras um, and the data we've got from the back end of that project was seriously impressive.
Yeah.
So and it all started with reaching out to Shiny with a brief and them recommending some options that worked.
I think also just to add on that with this, and for anyone watching, it's so important to have your portfolios, your socials, your website up to date and easy to find, so that when we are in this situation, like Caroline sends through a couple of names, like we can get that straight to the client, and then the client can find what they're looking for as quickly and easily as possible. I know it sounds really arbitrary, but it's like it's so important, and you'd be amazed how often we see some work that's like great, and we just like can't find the guy that
Oh
or the person that.
right. So then
Yeah,
I would say to anyone then watching, if you're interested in directing, then make sure that you're on the shiny list, because then it means that you can be more visible, as
yeah,
well as like keeping your social media up to date. Just to put
yeah,
that
and
out
easy to
there.
find. Like have your Instagram account like your name. Sounds really dumb.
That's a very good point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with director at the end.
So just basically make it idiot proof, so
Yeah,
that
yeah,
essentially like
completely. Yeah,
it's so
because
obvious what you do.
there's a lot of
It's
people
in a
out there.
crowded marketplace, so being easy to find and easily identifiable helps.
Yeah,
For sure.
it seems really
What I
silly,
wanted
but
to move on to was what are the opportunities for like I guess new directors, because there's going to be some people here watching that maybe they haven't worked on big brands, or they've maybe worked on socials or like D2C content, that sort of thing, so more sort of products, and then sort of putting that stuff out. What I guess what I'm asking is, what is the expectation for new directors, and then also what kind of work would be out there for like new directors that you're bringing on?
Well, I mean, it's really exciting these days because social advertising and digital media has opened up a lot of channels for emerging talent to demonstrate their skills and their tone of voice. Um, in ways that wasn't possible before, but because previously it was all above the line, and you had to cut your teeth through expensive music videos. Now we are living in this exciting time where budgets are very broad, we're always keen to hear from diverse voices, actively seeking out directors from underrepresented backgrounds, and with emerging experience. And we at Doubledice work across a huge range of different budgets. So there are budgets that might be 250K, which you're going to look for a more experienced director who can handle that. But we would do plenty of budgets around the 20 to 50K, where we're looking for younger, more youthful talent to come through and demonstrate their skill set. So the options are out there, and get in touch and we can talk about whether we can pay you up with a project.
I think also just the amount of content that gets made is just increasing
Yeah.
exponentially, and that's a sort of a double-edged sword, because yes, the budgets are going down, but it does give an opportunity for people that aren't so experienced to get their foot in the door.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah, so just keep going, really.
Amazing. I wanted to ask a few more questions, just more for the specific details of like how the work works. But I also just wanted to open up the floor as well for anyone watching that has any questions, because this is the time. We have the guys from Doubledice with us, so if you have any questions about, even if it's just like how to work with Doubledice, or just any niggling questions that you're like, you know what, this is what I want to know. There are no silly questions. One thing I wanted to ask was, what is the sort of, I guess, in terms of the working, how it works is, so say for example you've got a project and you've signed on a director, like what do you kind of, or what do you expect in terms of the physical document that, you know, that they put across, because it's a pitch deck, but what can that look like? Would it be a page? Would it be, because before you mentioned for that Virgin project it was 2 pages or a page, but what are you expecting in that pitch deck, for example?
That's a great question. So, you know, there are two sort of decks we're talking about. The initial pitch deck, which we will solicit to onboard the director, and then a full director's treatment once we're onboarded. Now, again, it depends on a variety of things, including the budget. But for that initial deck, that pitch deck, we'll have shared a top-line creative overview of the project, and asked the director to put together a short pitch treatment, which essentially summarizes their creative approach to the project in terms of style, tone of voice, thoughts on casting, music. But at this stage, we're only really looking for a paragraph on each. It's to demonstrate how you'd approach it and see if we think that's a right fit creatively for the project. Now, if you're successful on that onboarding process, we'll move into during pre-production into a larger director's treatment. Now, that will tend to cover everything that comes together to make that finished piece. So it will break down casting, cinematography, visual language, editing, color, sound design, music in a much more detailed manner, so that can be shared with the creative agency and, importantly, the client, so that there are no nasty surprises when we get to production. So everyone is confident in the process, the vision, and of course the final result. So it's broken down into two sections really. Before you've won the job and after you've won the job,
and all signed off by clients as well. So that it's all.
And expect some feedback.
Yeah.
You know, we love the idea of writing a treatment or a script that is immediately greenlit. There is going to be a process, a development process, with often a surprising number of voices, and
sometimes it's long, sometimes it's longer.
Yeah. Yeah. And the key there is to sort of bring your expertise and your vision to it, but also patience, yeah. But also understand that, you know, the brand have invaluable insights into their journey and their story, their tone of voice, how they like to, how they want their key messages and get across. So it you know, it is a collaborative process, and often a fun one, but also often quite full on.
Okay. Hey, that's super insightful. We do have one question, which is, do you work with UK-based people only? Recently moved to France and wonder if it's going to affect my opportunities in the UK. Asked by Veronica. So yeah, that's
Absolutely not. Our art department is based in France.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah. So that doesn't make any difference to us. Obviously, it takes longer to get here from France than it does from Croydon, but yeah, not a problem.
Oh, wait, are you guys based in
No,
Croydon?
no, we're in Southwark, but yeah.
Okay.
It's as Phil says, the answer really that is no. I mean, there will have to be discussions about the added cost of, you know, if there's transport or accommodation required. But, you know, again, these days, a lot of our pre-production process is done remotely, and our PPMs are done remotely. And obviously, as you know, if the director is based abroad, that really shouldn't affect the pre-production process. You know, we can cast using you know, over Zoom or Google Meets and things like that. There might be a budget implication, but ultimately, if you're the right fit for the creative, you know, geography shouldn't matter.
Cool. I just got two more questions. Uh, we've got one that says, "Hi guys, how have you managed to manage creative input and direction when working with an agency compared to direct to brand work?"
Yeah, good. It's a great question. But the thing is that the processes aren't divorced from each other, and the agencies bring insight and skills that essentially would be very time consuming for us. So our approach is similar to both. Often when the agency is involved, the creative has been partially formed before we even see it.
Yeah.
So we then work with them to realize that vision, and they come with a lot of insight when developing that creative. So it's super helpful. They've done the research. They've and developed the creative to a point that the client is very confident in it. So it's almost like the package is the recipe's half baked at that point. So we can come in and finish it. Working direct to brand, we're much more hands-on in the creative development, and we'll bring in a director or directors or creatives at an earlier stage in our journey with the brand to shape the campaign.
Yeah, so typically a brand will just be like, I want a video that explains this.
Yeah,
I'd say and that's pretty much what we have. And then you know, if they've come up with a budget, give us a budget, and then it's like up to us to then go and make that work in a way that works for them. Would
Can
you
I
say?
yeah, absolutely.
quickly just follow just to follow up on that? In terms of working with the budget, is the director closely tied with the budget, or is it more sort of that the concept initially just needs to fit into the budget?
It's Harry.
Do they have their eyes on the budget, or is it more
Who has their eyes on the budget?
the director? So in the process, does the director sort of like have a conscious eye, or is it that,
Well,
you know?
they will need
Yeah,
to, otherwise they're going to
yeah.
hear no a lot. So I always like to say creativity is infinite, but budgets are finite, and
So true.
so we have to all work together to make sure that we can deliver the best possible end result, but within the available budget. And it's something that directors will learn with experience, sort of how to work within budgets. Until that level of sort of understanding has been reached, you can always trust on a producer to say no.
Budgets and time as well.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like, so if you consider time as a budget, like getting things done on time is really important to us. And sometimes
It's a challenge. It can be a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what we will always be open and candid with the director at the start of a project of what budget we're working with, and what's possible. And then our job in production is to maximize that budget, find pull in all the resource and collaborators we can to get the best possible result out of the available money.
Like a lemon squeezer.
Amazing. Last question, which is from Jonah. When you're approached by a new director, what do you look for in their work, and also how the AI is impacting work, and is there any demand for it? Ooh, interesting question, actually.
Two good questions. I mean, I kind of touched on the first part of that earlier on. At this stage, it's more about demonstrating creative skills in your work than it is technical. We want to see that understanding of visual storytelling. We want to see an interesting visual style, and that's not limited to live actions, animation, and motion graphics as well. And again, understanding the importance of brand identity and key messaging, as I said. So don't get hung up or worried that maybe the production values of your student spec ads, I mean, actually these days the
They're
production
pretty
value
good.
of spec ads
Yeah.
tend to be pretty good, but
Like Harry and I have been to some shiny events. We're like, wow,
yeah,
that's really impressive.
yeah, it's so we're looking for those creative skills in your work. The AI question is a different beast altogether. I mean, I think at times We worried ourselves about it, but I think now we feel strongly that it's not a case about being worried about that AI is going to replace any of our work or our creativity, but it is a resource and a tool that can be used, can be learnt and used to as a benefit in different stages of production. And I think, I was chatting to a friend of mine the other day, and he said that AI isn't going to replace humans in creativity, but humans who utilize AI will replace those who shun it. So I think it's looking to find ways to work with AI and some sort of very clever software developments. What were we talking about yesterday?
The new
Sora.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, Sora.
Yeah.
Looking at ways that how that can help you in developing your storyboards or streamlining your post-production.
Or just sort of bringing, like, if you're working direct to brand and they really don't have an imagination, it's a great way to just bring an idea to life in the short term to explain a concept
That's
to
such a good
them,
point.
So
Yeah.
maybe
before you then
using
go away and film it.
so then
Using it for boards and for animatics
right, okay.
that can really sell your vision in. So I say embrace it, don't fear it.
So then potentially they could be using AI to kind of then pitch you guys, or essentially putting it in their pictures to then be like, oh, this is what it could look like. This is what the world could look like, and the concept and the visuals, and then
100%, and it could be really helpful in getting those ideas across. Just don't put your cover, don't get ChatGPT to write your cover letter because we can spot that a mile away.
Yeah, I can smell it.
Yeah.
Smell it through before I opened it.
But in terms of helping you develop pictures, I think it's a great tool and exciting and can really and can be a massive time saver. So you can spend more time on other areas of the development process.
I think also don't be afraid, as if you are using it to enhance what you're doing with your pitch, don't be afraid to say that I've used AI, because I think a lot of clients like the fact that directors are looking that way. I think.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely.
So don't hide it.
cool.
Embrace it.
There is one more question. I'm going to be cheeky and ask you guys, can we ask this one more question, then we can round everything out and we can all get back to work. The last question is, are you guys working on any short documentaries or branded content? What advice would you give to someone trying to get into branded content?
So we have been working on them since our inception. Tend to be branded content that take on documentary form rather than just standalone documentaries. And this has been a really useful tool for working direct to brand, because it gets a great opportunity to tell brand stories in a really sort of non-commercial way. And so we've been fortunate enough to be engaged by various brands to do that. Advice in how to get in there. I mean, I think if like all things, you want to sell it as, we're telling a story here, and frame it as, an eye into the brand journey. And I think that brands will love you to dive in there and tell their stories.
I think also, like, let's say you've got an idea and you think it would work for a brand, don't be shy. Like, get in touch with them or get in
100%.
touch with us, and then we will go and we'll sell it. We'll try and sell it into the brand. It's
Okay, so
like,
then they could
it's,
literally just
if
be like,
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I have this idea.
If you think
This
you've
is gonna
got an
work.
idea for like some bit of branded content that would work really well with, well, actually, to be fair, have a short list of similar brands, because it's unlikely you're going to get 100% hit rate. But we're really happy to take that, package it up in a really nice looking deck, and then approach the right people, and then you never know. And that's how a lot of our direct to brand business works, really.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, guys, Philip and Harry. Honestly, it's been amazing. I think it's been super informative, and I'm sure everyone's learned a lot. So thank you so much for taking the time to answer
No,
these
thank you for having
questions.
us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
No No worries. And if anyone's interested, head over to Doubledice, give them an email, head over to Shiny so that you can be seen as well. And we're going to round it off here. If you have any more questions, feel free to send them through on the comments. As well as we're going to be doing these lives every Thursday. So check us out. And thank you so much for watching and take care, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.
All the best.